Here we go. You're notifying viewers that I'm live. Let's just scoot this a little over because the angle always looks so different from what I see compared to what comes out on video. So I think I'm going to start, as usual, with a sermon. And this sermon is going to be something that just came to me literally like yesterday. What is up, everyone? Thank you for joining. We're starting off with a sermon, so buckle up. So let's talk about time in regards to manifestation and 3D circumstances. So a lot of you have probably heard the phrase, what you speak is actually spelling, right? Which you're casting a spell as to what you want to see in the 3D. And the time construct is no different. So the 3D Earth matrix is really based upon two strong belief systems: time and money. Okay, so there's a lot of esoteric, archaic meaning behind this. There's backstory. I'm not going to get into that here because this is going to be more about manifestation. But if we want to take a look at, time and money, we can see how these two things are, interchangeably exchanged in the 3D. Okay, they're what power up the 3D. The belief in money, which currency, you are the currency. So you are money, so money cannot be apart from you. And time is the measure of third dimensional space. So you go to a job and you exchange your time for being at that job for money, right? If you think of the word count, I just posted a video on this, okay? You count time on a clock, okay? You count calendar days. You also count money. So the whole purpose of the 3D Earth matrix, which, pretty much everyone, I would say, is fed, is the belief that, time is a real thing, because it really involves everything, right? As does money. It involves everything in the 3D, okay? You count time, you count money. Make this moment count. You're counting the clock, tick, 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 right? You're essentially not going to really escape it from a third dimensional perspective. But these are two big constructs when it comes to manifesting that you really don't want to pay attention to. And to take it back to the whole concept of you are the currency, right? Currency is money, currency flows. What you are programmed to do is to save money, right? But what money really wants to do is flow. That's why it's a current. You are the current because you are made up of waves. Therefore, you want to keep circulating money. Now, this leads me to the word spend. You spend time doing something. You spend money doing things, right? And if you look at all of this, oh, my water just fell. That's fucking wonderful. That amplified a point. Thank you very much. You never want to, I don't want to say never, but you ideally wouldn't want to use the word spend when it comes to time and money, especially with manifesting, okay? If you want to use the word circulate, you circulate money, which implies that it's not being spent. Every dollar that you put out comes back to you because it keeps flowing, because you are the currency, you are the current, right? Because you're made up of waves, you're always moving. That's a better way to look at it. You don't want to say that you're spending something, because that would imply that you're not getting anything back. What you want to say, let's say you're doing affirmations, you want to say, I invested you could say time, because again, it's time. I invested time today doing my affirmations. Or you can say, I invested my currency today doing my affirmations. Which one of those is better, right? Because there really is no time. So if you're saying that you're investing time doing something, that still would adhere to the construct of time. So you'd want to say, I invested my currency, which means it keeps flowing, which means it's going to circulate back to you. So if you're doing affirmations and you're saying, but I've been doing it for this amount of time, whether it days or weeks or hours, months, whatever, and nothing is happening, what you did right there is bring the focus away from the affirmations, and you centered the focus back on time again, which now your focus is on time. So you can be affirming, investing your currency in the affirmations. And if you do that as much as you want to, because, everyone's story is different. So someone might be affirming for an hour, they see movement right away. Someone might be affirming for a day, they see movement within that day. Someone might be affirming for a week. It really just depends on how often you are returning to the state of the wish fulfilled, rather than saying, I spent so much time working on my affirmations. So that already implies you spent it. Does that mean you're getting it back? It means you just spent it. You say, I invested my currency, which is your energy, into circulating my affirmations, knowing that because I'm the wave and everything in the 3D is comprised of waves, it's just slowed down. Oh, thank you for the heart. Then you know that you are going to get that back. You don't want to look at something as, a lot of individuals in the 3D can say this, they wasted their time. I know I fucking said that at certain points. But if you really, backtrack, even that situation where you're saying was a waste of time, you still took something of value from it. No matter if it's the tiniest, minutest thing, you took something of value out of that, because time does not function the way that the 3D programs want to believe that it functions, in a linear fashion like a train track. Time is very malleable, because remember, it doesn't exist. The only thing that is, look at why I have this fucking, okay, that's fine. Cool. So time is something that is more malleable than one has been programmed to believe, because if we go back to the original thing that I was talking about, time and money make the 3D matrix go round. If no one believed in time and linear construct, what would go on in the 3D Earth matrix, right? You would have no appointment schedule. You would have no work schedule. You'd have no calendars. You'd have no clocks. You would just be kind of chilling, right? So that already would be a huge impact if everyone stopped adhering to time. And if everyone just started knowing that they are the currency, that they are money, and they keep flowing, they're circulating, right? They know that it's going to come back to them. And they know that they don't need a quote job to attain this money, because if you are something, you don't need to do anything to fucking attain it. It's just, that's who you are. And the waves that you are emitting, that you are investing in producing waves that are saying that I am wealthy, that is only going to be reflected back to you. So there'd be no need for a job, which means that society has the potential to shut down, because if no one is working, how is society going to function? Okay, so you want to think of these things, that's pretty much just like a tiny bit of how the matrix operates. The two important things for the matrix, the parameters of the game, is the belief in time and the belief in money. Okay, and they're used very interchangeably. You can see it in the language, but when you're thinking of manifestation, time and even money go out the window. You want to think of it as just currency and what you are continually circulating, because everything is a reflection. You are the movement that you seek. You are not looking for something elsewhere, because you are everything. So if you are just focusing, I am wealthy, and that's all it is, now what you're doing is sending out waves saying I am wealthy. You are circulating those waves, right? So those waves have to come back to you, because things of like intent assemble. And if you're manifesting something, but you're saying, but there's a deadline, but I need it now, then you emphasized the deadline, you emphasize the time, so you're likely going to see more evidence of time or things moving slow. This is why when you are in the moment, like I explained in the most recent video that I posted, when you are in the moment and you are bringing your full awareness, because that's your currency is your awareness. So when you are investing your awareness, your currency in the place that you want, you are going to see that you're going to stop focus on time. This is why when you're hanging out with your best homie, when you're with your partner, or when you're genuinely doing something you enjoy, time just seems to fly by, okay? And you're like, what happened? But if it's something that you don't enjoy doing, you might be counting the clock, saying how much more time do I have to spend doing this. Do you see how time and money are connected? It's very interesting, okay? But those are some things that you do not want to focus on when you are manifesting, okay? Because number one, your energy that you are investing, let's say, and I'm not talking about someone who, you know, they have a career, they have a profession, they have a job that they genuinely enjoy and it doesn't feel like work. I'm not talking about you, because you're enjoying it, right? So odds are your job doesn't feel like work because you enjoy it. I'm talking about someone who, you don't like your job, but you're in a place of fear that if you were to not have that job, then where would your finances come from? Okay, so that is a belief system. That is a belief, because you are the currency. And if you start adopting the identity of someone who knows that they are the currency, that job that you hate is going to become less important. But you have to understand that as well. You were trained and you were programmed, okay, to be a subordinate. You were not trained and programmed to be a sovereign. And this is just, you know, it's like the parameters of the game, okay? And I don't want anyone to get like pissy over this, because you know what I'm saying? It's like you getting mad at the game, but you kind of knew what the limitations and the rules were of the game when you fucking started playing it, okay? So the limitations of the 3D, which are just the 3D, is the belief that time is a real thing, okay? Is the belief that you need to exchange your time for money. Those are limiting beliefs, but they are part of the game. So if you know, I don't know why this turned into like a time and money thing, but whatever. It's, you know, I talk about different topics randomly because that's how I roll. So if you are someone who is in a place of, you know, fear, that you're wondering, how is this going to get paid? How's that going to get paid, right? You pay attention. Look at how much all this shit, look at how all of this shit is interconnected with the language. I don't know how it is for any other language, but I'll tell you, the English language, holy shit, the fucking meanings of things are very, very fucking wild if you look at it, right? You pay your bills, you pay attention, you pay. Do you see what I'm saying? That also right there, the way that it's phrased is to make you think that you are not sovereign, that you must pay a toll in order to get to the next level. But that's just part of the game. So instead of saying I paid my bills, you say, you know, I was so happy and grateful that I have this cell phone where I'm able to communicate on social media networks. I'm able to talk to my friends, and I'm investing some currency to keep this going, okay? I'm not saying, you know, listen, if you want to be someone who wants to go and live in the middle of like the forest or something, and you want to be totally cut off from, like, you don't want to have a cell phone, you don't want to have electricity, and you don't, you know, like that's totally different, okay? If that works for you, that works for you. But for a lot of individuals, if you are in a place where you don't want to give up your lifestyle, you still want these things, like you want to have electricity, you want to have running water. It's just parameters of the game that you know, that's something to be attained, okay? Now, if you want to say that all of your bills are taken care of, okay, then you start saying that you're not going to need to pay anything but attention to your bills already being paid. I don't know how they were fucking paid, and you don't know how either. You don't need to know, but you have to have the confidence to know that you are the currency. And if you don't feel like paying a bill this month, and you just say, listen, that's going to be taken care of, I don't know how, then that's the thing that you pay attention to. You don't need to pay the bill. You pay attention to the version of you that has all this shit already taken care of, okay? Whether it's from a lottery win, whether someone pays it for you, whether there was some mix up on the bill and you don't, whatever, right? But you can't look at things in the way that you have always looked at them, even with mainstream societal constructs such as time and money, okay? You have to look at things from a different perspective, and it's not your job to figure out the how. It's not your job to figure out logistics. You just have to incorporate the version of you who is oscillating at the frequency, sending off that currency of the motherfucker who knows everything is taken care of. And if you're constantly oscillating that care of, and if you're constantly oscillating that frequency in every now moment, what you're doing is, from a 3D perspective, this moment in time, you are that motherfucker. Next moment in time, you are that motherfucker, right? And you keep going, you will be led there. But this is not something that you're programmed to do, because like I said in the beginning, if they taught you all this shit, that's why this stuff is hidden in occult symbolism and things like that. But if you were taught that, okay, that yeah, you are energy, you are the currency, you can think of $1 million and it can appear in front of you, society as we know it would be defunct. And that's just the truth, okay? Now, why all this is going on, whatever, that's up for the individual. This is not what this video is about, but I'm just telling you this from a manifestation perspective, the parameters of the 3D Earth Matrix game as it resonates with me. Now, if you don't resonate with that, I don't know what to tell you. Your opinion is just as valid, because remember, everyone is having their own consciousness and it's up to you. But this is what I have found upon research, upon observing others, upon personal experience. This is the most plausible thing that I agree with, that resonates with me, okay? So you want to start looking at this as a game. So if you go into, the only game that I'm really fucking familiar with is Super Mario, okay? You go in, you have like 5 lives or some shit, okay? They give you that, right? Starting. So you want to think of it as you're given whatever circumstances you're given when you enter the vessel. And that's just what it is. That's your set point. That's your starting point, okay? Why you chose that particular circumstance or that particular vessel, only the individual knows that. I don't know why you chose to, enter the Earth Matrix in your particular vessel or your circumstance. That's something upon you, because you're God. You're having your own view of things, okay? So you can start looking at it, okay, well, this circumstance happened. That's what you were given, right? Those are kind of like the factory settings, okay? And I'm talking about, talents as well. I'm talking about something that you're really good at, something that you are sensing as, this is my dream career, this is my life purpose, something that that you're really good at, okay? Those are like what I know in oh my god, this game is like a fucking LSD trip gone wrong. But the game Super Mario Brothers 2, where, spoiler alert, like Mario wakes up after and then he realizes it was all just a dream, okay? In that particular game, I like the old school shit, okay? In that particular game, they have the mushroom, they have, what do they call it? Toadstool? Oh my god, toadstool. Then they have the princess, and then they have Mario, and they have Luigi, and all of them are in different vessels, okay? They have different avatars, but each of them have a different set parameter. I remember the princess like could fly, right? She could like glide or some shit, okay? Which was different from the others. I don't remember what the other characters had, but this is how you enter the vessel. You arrive, and then your set parameters are specific to you for whatever reason. I don't know, because I only know my specific parameters, okay? So then you have to look at, what are you good at, okay? What do you enjoy? That's what you are supposed to be doing. Another thing that I want to touch on, okay, because you're given these set parameters, it's like the factory settings. And then if you have an interest, that would be kind of like a perk to explore, right? It'd be kind of like Mario getting the fucking the big mushroom, so he gets bigger, right? Only this time you get bigger in waves of consciousness. You achieve the next level of something that is of particular interest to you. So if you have an interest, I'm just gonna say math, because I have no interest in math. I always fucking say it. I'm not good at math. I don't give a fuck. But let's say you have a particular interest in math and you want to explore that, right? And you're finding ways for you to explore that, and that's really something that you want to do. You want to be a mathematician, you want to be a math professor. Okay, that's great for you. But then you are put there, right, as someone who enjoys math, which is different from me, who does not enjoy that whatsoever. So your experience, your interests are there for you. Your manifestations, your desires are there because you have a set parameter of the thing that you want to explore. And of course you can change that at any time, but a lot of times someone will just know that they are meant to do something, or this is an interest, and it's a very early age, even though time doesn't exist, but just kind of something that was always with them, which also implies that time doesn't exist, right? So something was always with you, like your dream, right? And then you were put in these circumstances, and it seems like, okay, maybe your dream is like kind of put on hold because of the circumstances and how you up level in the game, okay? Because you still want to complete the game, you want to fucking win the game. Your goal is to be a mathematician. Okay, cool. So then, but now you're in a place where you don't necessarily have the funds to go to college and be a professor. So you have to go through these different things, and you willingly want to go through those different things because being a mathematician is great to you. Now, that is not who you are, but in my opinion, you're given particular desires, okay? Your desire, your dream life, all of your dream life is given to you for a reason, and it's specific to you. So this is also why, this is gonna be all over the place. Oh my Lord. But this is why when motherfuckers come in the manifestation community and they're like, well, how come everyone is not a millionaire? Maybe someone who is into manifestation doesn't care to be a millionaire, but maybe someone else who's into manifestation cares about that. Do you see what I'm saying? It's specific to you. So your desires, the things that you have always carried with you, they're there, and it's part of your journey in the game, okay? Like Mario's fucking journey, right? He was set in the game because he had a desire to rescue Princess Peach. Okay, so that's what he was doing. So he didn't give a fuck. He was going through level 1 Iggy Koopa and shit, Morton Koopa, like the whole Koopa motherfuckers, okay, all of them, till he conquered Bowser, okay? And then he rescued Princess Peach. So you have that same type of thing, that you have this thing where you want to do, and it's specific to you, and you up level in the game because every time that you level up in consciousness, you get closer to the goal. That is just your journey, okay? And that is what, in my opinion, this 3D Earth Matrix is. It's like a video game, and each one has a specific path that they want, and then they go through these levels of consciousness. Not necessarily that you're navigating through worlds like in Mario, but you're going through these levels of consciousness, and you're upgrading and you're up leveling, and then you get to your goal. And then once you reach that goal, remember, since consciousness cannot be created or destroyed, there's no ending, there's no beginning, then once you find that goal, and I'm sure a lot of you have already found a goal that you wanted, and you met that goal, and then now you have something else. That's just how it goes, okay? But the parameters of the game are there to keep you entrenched and ensnared. Is like, okay, but there is even in Mario, there's like a time limit, right? You have to get through the worlds in a certain amount of time. You can't just be fucking around in there and then it's gonna say time's up, right? So it's the same thing in the 3D Earth Matrix. The time is there to scare you. Fuck yeah, I said it. I'm gonna take me a sip of water, but I fucking said it. Time is there to fucking scare you, but it's not really gonna scare you when you understand the fucking parameters of the game. That's why it's there, right? Just like money. Oh, money is hard to come by. That's put there to scare you too, because the whole 3D Earth Matrix is based upon time and money. Watch the movie with Justin Timberlake. I think it's called In Time or Time, but that will show you a lot, okay? So give me a moment here. Okay. So, like in Mario, right? You have the little, I don't give a fuck. I will never ever see them as turtles. Those motherfuckers look like ducks wearing a shell. Okay, whatever. I don't give a fuck. You call them a turtle if you want. They look like ducks to me. They got a beak like a duck. A turtle don't have a fucking beak. So there's these things coming at you in the 3D Earth Matrix, right? Disguised as like a fucking circumstance. And what are you going to do? You going to jump over the circumstance? Are you going to like stomp on it and toss the shell and then kick a whole bunch of other circumstances, you know, away from you? Or are you just going to stand there, let the duck, the fucking turtle, just run you over, mow you down, right? Mario ain't doing that. Mario is like, yo, I got a goal. This is what I'm doing. And he continues to, you know, fight the enemies. Okay, so what you're doing in the 3D, you have this this belief system that is, you know, adopted by pretty much everyone in the 3D about time and money, which I spoke on. And then now you have 3D circumstances, which are like the ducks and little mushroom looking motherfuckers. What are they called? I don't fucking know. Okay, I know that the Koopas are the ones with the shells, and the, I forget what they're called. The little, they look like little mushroom heads. Okay, so you have these things coming at you. It's the 3D circumstances. So every time, all right, as you progress through the game, you're going to get more skilled at maneuvering through 3D circumstances. Just like Mario gets more skilled, right? When you start, you on level 1, you might not be able to go to level 8 right away because it's like, oh shit, because you didn't build yourself up to that. So that's how I tend to look at 3D circumstances, because you're always evolving. You're not stopping that, right? Because remember, time doesn't exist, and it's kind of like, even though it can look linear from an elevated perspective, it looks like a spiral. This is why you can have like a pattern, then you see, oh shit, this thing, it looks like it's happening again, but no, it's not happening again. You have the awareness that something might have happened in the past, but now you've elevated. So even your now moment awareness that that thing has even happened in the past shows that you have up-leveled in consciousness, because you are recognizing the pattern. And that is how that, as well, that in my opinion, this matrix operates. It operates by, oh, thank you. It operates by an algorithm, you know, based off of patterns, okay? Much like the TikTok algorithm, you know, you look at a video of like food or some shit, then you're gonna get a whole bunch of videos of food, just because the operating system algorithm is like, okay, they're engaging with this, they must want more of it. And then that's the same thing. So if you're engaging with the Koopas in front of your face, the 3D circumstances, you're just gonna get fucking more of that, because the algorithm of the matrix is saying, oh, they want to engage with more of this, let's send them more. So you don't engage with it, you hop over, or you fucking stomp on the shell and you wipe out a whole bunch of 3D circumstances in one shot. You just say, fuck this, I'm Super Mario, motherfucker, you ain't stopping me. Okay, that's really, in my opinion, how it works. But the biggest parameters to cause fear is not Bowser, is not the fucking Koopas, it's time and money. And those are just things that are, you know, it's part of the game. So don't be mad at it, but just start seeing them for what they are. They are illusions. They are there to keep you on level 1 when you really want to go to level 8. That was so fucking wild. I don't know where that came from. A lot of that shit just bibbity bobbity boo out of my mouth, that fucking flew. So that was my sermon. I don't know how long I was talking, but that's just kind of to give you a breakdown of how the matrix operates, in my opinion. Remember, if you don't resonate with this, you just don't fucking force yourself to resonate with something. But that's just what I find is the most palatable and, in a way, logical as to what's going on here. So when you're manifesting, you don't want to look at time, and you don't want to look at money in that way, because they're the two major things. Okay, even, you know, because someone can say, oh, but I'm manifesting an SP. Yeah, you're manifesting an SP, so maybe you're not focused on money, but I guarantee you're focused on time somewhere. Why hasn't it happened? But I've been affirming for this amount of time, and okay, you see, All things come down to time and money. Even with your fucking health, someone's gonna say that they're manifesting health, and then, oh, but yeah, oh, the doctor says you have this much time. Yeah, you see, time and money. It's gonna come down to those two things, whether it's love, whether it's health. It's always time and money. So now let me get to the comments, because I was yapping for quite some time. Pun intended, motherfucker. Pardon me. Oh wow, they do this on Tumblr. They say it's been 182,000 years and you still haven't manifested. Yo, that's fucking wild. You wrote 828, and right now I'm re-watching Manifest, that show Manifest, and it's about, you know, the whatever, the flight 828. That's so wild how you said that. I love me a synchronicity. But yeah, I don't understand that, because anyone that's saying that they're focused on time, I've been doing this for such a long time. They're focused on the time, because when you have truly embodied the version of you that has it, you're not even looking at the time. So that right there just shows that they are not focused on what they want. They're focused on the lack of it. That's exactly what that is. Yeah, I love that show too. It's so fucking interesting. Like, I love it. And like, you know, the shit that they have, where they got off the, I mean, spoiler alert, I don't know if anyone here has not seen this, but when they got off the plane, they all developed superpowers. I'm like, yo, this shit is legit, because I be getting voices in my head like that just tell me shit, and then I'm like, whoa, and then it happens. I'm like, what? So all that shit is real. But you know, that's another thing with the Matrix. They show you how things really are, but they market it as science fiction, because if they were to tell you this is the truth of how it is, then, you know, you wouldn't be stuck in the Matrix anymore. So, you know. Thank you everyone for the gifts and the follows. Thank you all. Are emotions a part of the 3D? Emotions and thoughts, in my opinion, are fourth dimensional in nature, because in the 3D you cannot touch an emotion, you cannot touch a thought, right? You can't see it technically, okay? They are part of the fourth dimension, and they are just there as an added element, in my opinion, okay, to make this seem like it's more real. Because think about it, if you didn't feel a certain way about things, you wouldn't care, but it's there to add an element of realness to it. It's just like, you know, it's like touch, it's like taste, it's like smell, it's like sight, you know what I mean? It's just an emotion to be like, oh, okay, and another sensory perception. That's my opinion. But no, they're fourth dimensional, because you can't touch an emotion. What is 5D? In my opinion, 5D is God consciousness. All there is, however you want to call it, whatever's comfortable for you, God, source, all-seeing eye, universe, everything, everywhere, all at once. That's what it is, in my opinion. It's just everything. Doing the work makes no sense. All was flowing, and then everything exploded. Honestly, no clue what to think from here. Well, first you want to stop saying that everything exploded and look at it as a shift happened to get you to where you want to go. Like, anything that happens in the 3D, guys, you know, I know, again, this is part of the Matrix construct. You're automatically programmed to think that there's a problem that you need to solve, but there is no problem. So if you just, you know, start looking at things and you put the most positive spin you can on any situation, now you are training yourself, not like society trains you, right, to be in a place of fear, but now you're training yourself to be open to positive things happen, rather than on the lookout for potentially negative things to happen. Why do some people experience loss when manifesting money? I mean, that really depends on the person, because if they perceive, or they have a belief system in there that's saying that you need to lose something to gain something else, then that's likely what's going to play out for them. Not because that's normal, but because they have a belief system, or there might be a belief system in there that they feel like they're unworthy of it, or they feel guilty for having money. So then that's just gonna correlate into a loss for them. So another thing that you want to keep in mind to kind of, piggyback off of that, is that your belief systems, even about manifestation, can show up. Okay, so let's say you manifest your dream life, and then you start feeling guilty because you're like, well, I manifested this, but don't other people deserve that too? That you're bringing guilt into the equation. Do you see what I'm saying? Based off of a belief system. So what are your belief systems telling about you? Are they telling you that you need to work hard for something, or else you don't deserve it? That's something big, especially having to do with money and career, right? Do you have to sacrifice something in order to gain something else? Those are all belief systems. Like, it's trippy as fuck how your belief systems that you wouldn't think are necessarily going on are actually like going on in the background. So what you really want to do is understand that, there are parameters of the game, but the law is still the law, and the law does not operate within the parameters of the game. The law is just the law, but you can sometimes see evidence of the law operating under the parameters of the game because you believe it does. So if you're manifesting money, but you have the belief in the game that you have to work hard for it, and then money is just handed to you, now the belief system that you feel guilty for accepting this money because you didn't work for it, that's not the law. That's you. That's your judgment of the situation. So judgment is all you. The law is the law. It brings you what you are focused on. It brings you what you expect. That's it. But if you're adhering to belief systems that are part of the matrix programming, then the law is going to bring you that too. Ooh, hell yeah. I'm glad you caught my live too. It's always perfect timing. That's everything. I made a video about this recently. I said, with all your manifestations, to take your focus off of the time, just say that it happened just in time. Then that's another one right there. It happened in the perfect timing. Everything is perfect timing, because then, you're shutting off the ego, kind of, because you're not saying, oh, it's going to happen by then the ego is going to like try to be like, whoa, right? It's going to go discombobulated. Now you're saying it happened in the perfect time. It happened just in time. So that is going to help the ego, because now the ego's not looking at a specific goal. So it'll kind of be like, okay, yeah, it happened in the perfect time. Yeah, maybe I could do that, right? So that's always a good thing to say, especially, if there is something from a 3D perspective that you perceive needs to happen in a certain amount of linear time. You could just say it happened just in time. Oh, I'm so relieved. It happened just in time. It happened at the perfect timing. My timing is always perfect. We got Aries gang in here. Holla. What is up? Yeah, that's like another thing, as like for me being an Aries and with manifesting, which is why, I don't know, I started talking about time. Maybe, who knows, it's all connected, as they say in that show Manifest. My biggest thing with manifesting is I get impatient, and I'm like, okay, what the fuck? Like, you know what I mean? So this is something that I had to figure out too. Like, the more you focus on time, I want it now. I mean, it can happen now instantaneously, but if you're looking like, where is it? It should have happened by now. Then the perfect, negation to that is just saying it happened just in time, or it happened in the perfect timing. Yeah, I'm still alive. Holla. Oh yeah, patience. I always say I ain't a doctor. I don't need no fucking patience, because fuck that shit. Like, no, I like my shit now. Yes, exactly. If a woman says all men cheat, then all men will cheat on her. Exactly. Or it could be the same for a man, or it could be the same for, a same sex couple. If you're perceiving people in your dating pool, or you would like to be in your dating pool, as cheaters or liars or whatever the case, that then you are going to attract that. That's very true. And that's why with like manifesting and dating advice content, for me, I don't recommend looking at dating advice content if you're manifesting a person, because it's people that are talking from their own opinions and their own personal belief systems. And with manifesting, you have to go by you. It's very, very specific. So if someone is saying, all of these types of people just want that, all of those type of people just want that, it's like, okay, well, you just knocked your belief systems on a whole bunch of other motherfuckers, and now they're gonna believe that. And I'm not saying like if you agree with some dating opinions, that ain't none of my business. But if you're manifesting an SP and you're looking at dating advice, it's two different worlds. It's two different worlds. It really is, because the law operates the same. So if a dating advice motherfucker is up on here and they're saying, well, you have to wait 3 days before you text them and don't respond right away. All right, that's what you do, but does that mean that that's what everyone else needs to do? No. So, with SPs, it's really what you believe about relationships. It's what you believe about the person. It's also what you believe about you. This is why in my other video that I posted on here, I was like, do you have a story about you even? Because if you have a story that you're like hot shit and you're a celebrity and ain't no motherfucker could handle you, ain't no motherfucker could get near you, but you're trying to manifest an SP, do you see how that's contradictory? Because now you're putting yourself, and yes, you should be on the pedestal, but if you're manifesting an SP but you're keeping yourself out of reach, then the SP is going to sense that too. Oh, hell yeah, I agree with that. Some people are still bitter from their past experiences. Yeah, I see. I mean, I don't see like a lot of this content because I don't engage with it personally, but like I do see a lot of content like that'll just come up, this fuckboy or some shit. I'm like, oh, okay, so one person you had an experience with and now everyone else is that as well. Like, and that's what creates patterns, you know what I mean? So like really, if you're manifesting a specific person, even if there is a past with that person, you can't look at that. You can't compare them to other relationships. Like you really, and that can be something, to not look at the past of someone, to not look at your previous engagements. I mean, that can be something. But if you want the favorable version of anyone to show up, the past version of them has to die in your mind first. Definitely. Can I talk about third parties? Well, you have to look at, what belief caused that third party to take shape in the 3D. So it's either a belief that you had about relationships, that people you go out with can't be trusted. You believe that, people are cheaters, or you have a specific story about this person that they're a cheater, or you have a story, about the person who is the third party, that there's some big seducer and they go after everyone. Like there's a story in there. Okay. So with the third party, it could be, that maybe there's a feeling of someone is always a cheater. It could also be a feeling of that you are too good for this person, and so they had to find someone of lower caliber. Or it could be that that this person is too good for you, so of course they would find someone better. Do you see how there's so many different variables with that? Like, so I don't know exactly what the belief system is, but they were still created by you. Maybe not specifically you thinking that they were going to cheat, but there was still something that you were holding in there that caused them to show up. Ooh, thank you for the heart. Love it. I popped up on your FYP. Oh, thank you for the gift. Love it. I popped up on your FYP for the third time. Okay, cool. I'm down with that. Hell yeah. What are the plans on the membership channel? Oh, thank you so much, Anna. I appreciate that. There's just one plan. It's just the MVPs, because you know, you the real MVPs. But yeah, it's just one level. Like I'm not tech savvy to have like a whole bunch of different levels. I just want to keep it simple, you know. So I do want to say on the membership channel on YouTube, all members, you know, you will have the opportunity to have your specific question answered. Obviously no identifying details, but I can answer your questions in a video dedicated just for you. Now I will word it in a way where it's beneficial to a lot of people. Again, no identifying details. I just wanted to throw that out there, in addition to, you know, ad-free and exclusive content and tea for y'all. Thank you for sharing the live. Hell yeah, thank you. SP told you that you don't listen, but third party does. So, I mean, is that the main issue though? Because, you know, how do you view that story? Like you still created the third party. So I'm not sure if, you know, SP saying you don't listen, that's still a projection coming from you. So what is the main story that you had that, you know, SP, I don't know, SP talks too much and you find them boring and you don't want to listen? Like, you know what I mean? There's something more than just that. That can be something that was told to you. But I mean, if you thought SP was a player, or you thought, you know, the third party is some whore bag and seduces everyone, or you know, I don't know, maybe you have a concept as well about relationships. Relationships are difficult, relationships are chaotic. I mean, I don't know, you know what I mean? Can you just surrender and do nothing and assume all I want is coming to me? Of course you can. Of course you can. That's actually a great place to be, when you just surrender and you're just in the moment. And you're like, okay, I don't know how this is going to work out, but it's already worked out perfectly for me. Yes. You know, some individuals, they find it easier to use like a blanket affirmation rather than specific things, especially if you have like a lot of things going on. You know, again, everyone is different, so you know, you just kind of have to sense it out for yourself. But if you have a lot of things going on that you want to change, and you're just like, you know what I want, just fucking do it, and you just kind of release, you can do that, of course, you know. You were arguing for a bit due to miscommunication. He would say that she never argued and stayed quiet. So do you find yourself to be, you know, an opinionated, strong-willed person? Because maybe SP has a story about you that you're carrying within yourself. Like, you know, this is, you know, I stand up for myself. I respect myself. I'm not going to let anyone cross my boundaries. Like, if you're perceiving yourself like that, then that can play out like that, but it's still the third party. It came from somewhere deeper than that, you know, you can't really look at that, because even if you find yourself to be a strong-willed person, are you thinking, or am I so strong-willed that no one can handle me? Right? Or are you thinking, you know, were you thinking that SP was a cheater? You know, it comes down to that type of stuff. If your SP was with someone else on Saturday, should you tell yourself that he had the worst time ever? I mean, hell yeah, if you want to do that. Yeah, you could just say that, like, okay, well, you know, okay, you could do that, of course, but you can also say that never happened. What? That was a mistake. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened there. That was a glitch. You know, it really depends. like with revision, sometimes you can just say that never happened, or you could revise it to a way that's favorable to you. But I would recommend, if there is a situation that occurred in the past that you don't like, sense it out. Is it something where you're just able to say, okay, fuck this, that never happened, just tune your attention away? Or is it something that feels better if you just say, okay, yeah, that may have happened, but it happened to, put me closer to where I want to go? It really, you have to sense that out. Your SP went back to his ex after telling you that he was healed and focused on moving forward. That's still, with this third party situation, to be honest, a lot of this is not, it's not just a surface level thing. You have to think, have you had experiences like this before in a relationship? Is this an isolated incident with this one person? Do you feel like, anyone that's dealing with any situation in relationships, whether it's third party or not, or ghosting, or, no contact, whatever the case is, has this happened before in your relationship sector? Okay. If yes, what is that saying about you? Okay. Have you noticed a pattern that you get cheated on? Have you noticed a pattern that you get ghosted, right? What is that saying about you? Okay. Write it down. How does that make you feel? How does that make you think about yourself? That's the root right there. And then if it's no, this situation is isolated to SP, do you have a story about SP? Did you hear a rumor about SP before you hooked up with them? Did something happen with SP and you interpreted it a certain way? There's a whole lot, like relationships, there are a whole lot of different variables in there. It's not just like one cookie cutter answer. You have a habit of replaying and creating arguments in your head. What to do to combat this? Discipline. Okay. Every time a thought crosses your mind, every time that imaginal argument happens in your head, you have to ask yourself, do I want this to play out in the 3D? If yes, go right ahead. If no, I have to turn my focus elsewhere. I know that it sounds simple to change your mind, but it can be very tempting to go and be like, well, I should have said this, but I should have said that. I should have clapped back by doing this. Like, it's tempting, but that's where you have to be disciplined. It takes discipline. Anything comes to your mind in regards to a situation you're manifesting. Do I want to see this? Yes, continue. No, you have to change your focus in the moment. You don't even need to necessarily affirm the opposite. You just need to not think that way anymore. Or if it, because everyone is different, it's like, how can you make that argument more palatable so that it benefits you? You can say, yeah, that argument happened, but I got an apology and all is good now. It really just depends. But, a lot of times, even venting to your friends, it's reactivating the old story. And this can, again, it can be something very tempting because, some individuals, they like to, get on the phone, hang out with their friends and gossip and complain and say this and say that. And it's like, okay, but what are you doing right there? You're reactivating the old story. Now, this is different if you are, comparing, you venting to your friends. This is different than if you're talking to a coach, or if you're even scripting out an old scenario to try to figure out, what the beliefs are and how you want to fix it. That's not reanimating the old story. That's going in from a neutral perspective to be like, okay, how do I change this? But if you're just constantly like, oh yeah, and this motherfucker said that and I said that, you could do that with friends, or you could do that in your mind, but it's the same thing. You're focused on negative bullshit and you're going to create more of that. So you have to be disciplined. Oh, you love my videos. Thank you. If your manifestation was going great and you had a weak moment, but you're fixing it, that's perfect. It doesn't matter. Even if you had a day that you spiral or you're just feeling off, it doesn't matter, okay? Sometimes it happens. Just remember to jump back on it as soon as possible, okay? If you start noticing your thoughts going to a place you don't want, you're just like, okay, you know what? I see what this is. Just, you don't need to be constantly affirming or visualizing or scripting. You don't need to constantly be doing something. You can just say, you know what? Let me just put my focus elsewhere. Hobbies, work, hanging out with friends, something else. You know what I mean? You don't have to constantly be focused on something, but if you are triggered or you do have an off day, that's totally fine. It's not going to mess anything up. You reacted to something you shouldn't have and created more of it. I mean, that, sometimes that can happen too, but you wouldn't want to focus on that either. And you wouldn't want to hold yourself to, like beating yourself up about it. You can just be like, okay, yeah, that happened. And I see manifestation at work there, even though it was not necessarily something you wanted. And you just put your focus back to what you want, okay? Technically, the past doesn't matter. You literally can have a transformation in a second. Things can happen instantaneously. But if you're focused on what happened before, yes, that is creating more of that now. So even if you had like a day where your mind was all over the place, you just didn't like the thoughts that were coming up, you just say, you know what, I decide in this moment, I'm not thinking that way ever again. You just move forward and you didn't think about it again. You can have an instantaneous shift right then and there. And you can even be feeling like shit and still get what you want feeling like shit. Okay? The feelings don't matter in terms of manifesting. Feelings matter in terms of you wanting to have a good experience in the 3D, right? You don't want to be feeling anxious or angry or whatever all the time, but they don't matter in terms of manifesting. So everyone on this feed, if there's something to take away from this, there's a lot to take away from, but just in regards to feelings, doesn't matter what you're feeling. Keep your mind on what you want. Even if the only thing that you're saying is, I'm letting this feeling process out, that's it, I still have what I want, or I'm still getting what I want, it doesn't even matter, but just don't attach a negative thought to the feeling. You don't want to do that. Just let the feeling ride its way on out. Oh, you did an energetic cord cutting? Hey, if that works for you, I've heard that could be beneficial for people, Some people aren't into that, but if you are and it works for you, it doesn't really matter, Like, everyone is different. So there's no cookie cutter solution. So if someone is wanting to just go into a meditation and just say, I release all negativity, I release the past, I release the shadow self or the former self or whatever, and then you just let it go and that's what works for you, that's fine. Someone can also say, all right, that shit is done, and not do anything. And so whatever resonates with you, that's the option you want to proceed with. So the anxiety doesn't matter. No, it does not. You can have anxiety, but remember, anxiety is really just thoughts. So if you're still having that anxious feeling, you want to be disciplined with your thoughts, and you can even acknowledge that the anxious feeling is there, but you're like, yeah, this is showing me that the old story is leaving. And what you can do is you can picture, what I recommend with like anxiety or something like that, deep breathing like that. Everyone could do that. You could do that anywhere, just deep breaths until you start to feel that constriction melting away. And you can just say with every breath out, this anxiety dissolves. That's it. It's gone. I've heard of EFT, like I hear about that all the time, but I don't know. For me, that doesn't resonate. I don't even know if there's a science behind it, but I remember I tried that like years ago and I just felt like, I was like, what am I doing? Like, I don't know. If there's something to it and it works for you, then yeah, try it. But, for me, I'm like, okay, like I just felt weird. Like, what is going on here? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, listen, if EFT tapping works for someone, then they should continue that. But for me, I don't know. The energy body, oh, the meridians. Okay, I think I've heard of that, but I'm not like super, super familiar with that. Maybe because it's like too scientific for me and I'm not really like science minded. I'm more just kind of like delulu. Like, I don't know, some people, they need that. They need to know like a little bit of science or logic. Me, I'm just like, no. I'll just say something and have it appear. I'll just, say this is happening now and it'll happen. I mean, I don't. And I mean, the breathing, I mean, for me, I'm constantly doing that anyway, as are all of you. So that I'm lazy. Like, like the EFT tap, I don't know. I'd rather just breathe. Do I agree with other coaches who say manifesting is magnified when you're on your period? That is a new one. I have never heard anyone say that. I've never heard anyone say that. But again, that's a belief system. It's a belief system. So if that's what works for them and they believe that, then that's what it is. Just like, I've heard people even in the manifestation community talk about like Lionsgate portal or like these planets are aligned and it's like a good time to manifest. And again, that's just a belief system. What I talk about is, I'm not shading anyone's belief system. You could have a belief system every time you take a shit, you receive 10 grand in your bank account. Okay. If you believe that and that's what you're saying, that's what's going to fucking happen. But all of those type of things, it's a belief system. I talk about the law as the law. Whatever you believe is going to happen. The law is neutral. So if you believe that, yes. It's natural. The law is, it's natural. It's always happening. But it's also not, like, it doesn't care. It doesn't say, oh, the planets are aligned today, so we're going to grant this motherfucker's wishes. It's like, no, that's your belief and that's your judgment of a situation. Because beliefs do come from judgment and the law does not judge. The law is just, this is what it is. This is what you got going on in your currency. Here it is. That's it. So, just like when someone says the O method, I mean, yeah, you can do that and it can work, but you still had to believe in it, right? The one thing that I will say that universally can work for everyone is if you are feeling anxious, you deep breathe through it. You're always breathing. Everyone, this is universal, okay? You're always breathing. Be mindful of your breath, because a lot of times you get anxious, your breath gets like quicker, right? You want to calm yourself. That's going to calm your body. You want to keep your mind focused on something at very minimum neutral. I am at peace. All is well. You don't have to take it too far. You keep your thoughts on what you want. Everyone is always thinking, everyone is always breathing, and the law is law. And I don't, that this is why I don't, even individuals I work with personally, if they can't visualize or if they're uncomfortable visualizing, I'm not going to tell them to do that, because that's not for them. If someone wants to script out an entire scenario and they want to do that and it feels good to them and that's what, okay, then they're going to do that. But it comes down to the individual. But the way that I speak about manifestation is by the law, and you will get what you are focused on. But everyone is always breathing and everyone is always thinking. That's just, it is what it is. Just like the law is always operating. So as far as belief systems in terms of, sleep with an emerald stone under your pillow and your SP is going to shart 5 times in your window as you're sleeping. Like, you know what I mean? If you believe that and that's what you want, okay. But you know what I'm saying? It's just, I teach about neutrality. So Thank you for the gifts. 5 times. I don't know. That flew out of my mouth. It's okay. It's fine. You know, it really, that's why I don't, you know, really talk about techniques, because I don't know how your consciousness is. I don't know how anyone's consciousness is other than mine. What? We have detected, huh? You have not detected inactivity in my live. I had to, it said your live will end in 5 minutes if you don't slide the puzzle piece. What inactivity? I'm here fucking yapping. All right, whatever, bots. How to maintain, how you maintain the manifestation, paradoxically, is before it even arrives. You really want to get that solid, because what Neville says, you know, the feeling of naturalness, again, how natural it processes to you. This is not elation. This is not anxiety. This is just as natural as what color shirt are you wearing? Pink. Okay. You didn't feel any type of way because it's a done deal. It's already done. That's how you know, you want it to be as natural as possible. This way, when it comes in, you're not shocked. So, you know, it really depends on, you know, if you're robotically affirming for something, yes, it can manifest. If you're visualizing something, yes, it can manifest. But if you have an underlying belief that contradicts the thing that you're visualizing or affirming for, that would be the only reason, maybe not the only reason, but one of the major reasons why you would not be able to maintain it. Because yes, you shifted maybe your story of the SP. Okay, you're saying SP is obsessed with me, SP is in love with me. So now they're showing you that in 3D. But if you still have a relationship belief system, all people are cheaters or whatever the case, right? Then that's what you want to fix to maintain it. So manifesting an SP, you want to see if you have a relationship pattern going on. Manifesting SP since 2021. Well, if you're wavering, then yes, that's likely the culprit. But you're also focused on time, because you just said you've been manifesting SP since 2021. So right there tells me, you know, yes, from a logical perspective, you can say I've been manifesting since 2021. But if you were fully immersed in the state, you wouldn't even be looking at 2021 or 2025. You would just be like, I'm manifesting SP and it's happening now. So you might be a little focused on time as well, to be honest. How do you make the difference between anxiety and gut feeling? That's an excellent question. Thank you. So to my understanding, my experience talking with a lot of individuals about it, anxiety is going to cause constriction in your vessel, okay? It's just going to feel like constricted, right? But a gut feeling, even if the thought associated with the gut feeling is not favorable, it's not going to cause any sensation in your vessel. It's just going to be like unknowing, okay? But now I do also want to clarify, okay? For me, I don't say gut feeling, I say intuition. So gut feeling is not, in my opinion, what most individuals perceive it to be, because you store fear in your gut, okay? This is why a lot of times, you know, anxiety, you can have GI issues, okay? Because it's fear, and that is coming from your gut, okay? You're gonna likely feel it in your stomach, and then as you think about the feeling in your stomach, you're gonna have thoughts, and you're gonna start to feel it in your chest, okay? It's going to be negative, most likely, okay? That's where fear is stored, so you have a fear there. And intuition, okay, is not, in my opinion, a gut feeling. It's for me, because intuition does not go by anything in the body. It does not go by fear. Intuition is knowing. It's something where a thought comes to you, and your intuition is not going to ever give you a thought that's going to produce fear ever. Even if it's something outrageous, it's just to be like, yeah, that's what it is. You're not going to feel anything. You're just going to have a knowing. And as Neville Goddard says, knowing, right? The feeling state of the wish fulfilled, the naturalness, it's not going to produce a sensation in your body. It's just going to be like, I know that. That's intuition. It will not produce any type of fear. So gut feeling and intuition to me are not interchangeable. They're two different things, but I know that a lot of times, the two are used interchangeably, but that's not how I see it, because fear, and you can look at, I know in ancient Chinese medicine, there's like books about it. And I find that this resonates, so even though it's like a science, but it's more like an Eastern science, where it talks about how different types of emotions are stored in different organs. So fear is stored in the gut. I mean, I forget what specific organs, but like if you look more into that, you'll see that. But gut feeling is not. It typically, if you have a sensation in your stomach, it's because you have a fear, an ongoing fear, and it's not going to be pleasant. And then you're going to have thoughts that come from that. And then you're going to feel it in your chest. And no, intuition will not produce any sensation in your vessel. Do you have advice for people that have trouble believing this is real? I mean, why are you having trouble believing it's real? Is it because you don't think that you've seen evidence of it? Is it because you've tried to manifest something and it hasn't happened at this point in the 3D linear time? But I would suggest looking back, if you are, questioning or doubting, look at the times that you just knew something was going to happen in your life. Whether it be negative or positive, you just knew it, right? Or you had a thought and then it happened, or you had a visual and then it happened. I know everyone has had at least one experience of that. That's manifestation. So if you can look at your past experiences, and even like fears, okay? Even if you had a fear and then that fear came about, you had to think about it for it to show itself, right? Or something good too, right? Like you had a feeling that you were going to get accepted into that school and then it happened. You just knew it. Yeah, that's manifestation. So it's always happening. So look at experiences like that you've already had. That's the best thing I can do with that, because I mean, I don't know if you're now saying that you can't wrap your mind around it, but if you look backwards, you can see from a logical perspective, what was I thinking before this happened? Oh, okay, that kind of makes sense, What to do when people in the 3D who you can't avoid remind you of the old story? Well, let's unpack this. You said you can't avoid them, but you're saying that you can't avoid them. You can, but you're choosing not to. So that's option number one. I never run into this person. This person never runs into me. It doesn't matter if you're in the same house. You could not cross paths ever. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, if that's not something that you want to do, like you enjoy this person, but they just bring up the old story, you just say, yeah, they never mention that anymore. All they talk about with me is this, and that. All they talk about with me are pleasant things that I want to discuss. That's two ways to look at it. So you saying that you can't avoid them is your story, and you saying that they keep bringing that shit up is still your story. So you have to find a way to look at it differently. Hey, nice to see you too. I always had the prettiest nails and earrings. Thank you. I'm a little bit of a diva, but it's all good, Yeah, I mean, okay, someone said you typing it here is affirm. I don't know what the original things said, but you typing here is affirming that will continue to happen. So here's something that I want to say in regards to that, even though I don't know what the original comment was. If you or anyone, if anyone, okay, is going around and you're just, you know, posting on YouTube, on Reddit, on TikTok, under every, you know, manifestation video, this is what's happening, blah, 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 why is there no change? And you're constantly doing that. Yes, you are reaffirming that story. But if you're just asking a question, or you're, you know, you're talking to someone in a constructive way, just once or twice, and you're just like, okay, this is the story, like, what do you think might be going on? That's not necessarily reaffirming the old story. That's just looking for another perspective of it. So if you are repeating the old story from a place of frenzy, trying to get an answer, and you're just so focused on it, and you're trying to force something to happen, even an answer as to why it's happening, then yes, you are reaffirming it. But there's a difference, you know. If someone is genuinely asking for someone else's perspective, and they're like, okay, you know, this is what's going on, you know, what are your thoughts from a neutral party? That's not reaffirming the old story. That's genuinely, you know, seeking guidance. So just be mindful of, you know, if you're obsessively commenting on everyone's page saying, but this is what's going on, do you see the difference between, hey, you know, this is my situation, I was wondering your thoughts on that? It totally different. Okay, so I don't want anyone on here to think that if they mention the old story once, even seeking counsel about it, that's not reaffirming it. That's more coming at it from a place of, okay, you know, like, what can I do to fix this? There is a difference. Okay, tips on building self-concept, even if you don't believe your affirmations. You have to work on it. You've heard you have to work on it. Well, I'm gonna ask you, do you think you need to work on self-concept? Because something that I have noticed personally in the manifestation community is that a lot of individuals will say, work on your self-concept and everything will fall into place. I don't find that to be true. Because you can have the greatest self-concept, but you might have an app, what I call it apps, like a belief system in a specific area that you are having in direct contradiction to the thing that you want. So how to tell if you, you know, if working on self-concept would be beneficial for you? Are you waking up and you're feeling good about yourself, or at least you're feeling neutral? You're cool with where your life is. You know, your life is generally pretty good. You look in the mirror, you're like, okay, I like this, you know. Are you having pleasant interactions with people throughout the day? You know, if all of that is true for you, and it's just one particular area that doesn't seem to be going well, in my opinion, you don't need to work on self-concept. How to tell you might want to work on self-concept is you're waking up and you're dreading waking up. You don't enjoy your life. You don't enjoy your interactions with anyone. You look in the mirror and you're not pleased, okay? You just have a general, like, you know, feeling that things don't work out for you, okay? Then yes, that's when you would work on self-concept. Now, you don't need to believe affirmations. You don't need to believe any affirmations, not about self-concept or anything else. But to make the affirmations more palatable, you would want to word them in a way where your ego is not going to necessarily reject them at once, okay? So if you're working on your self-concept and you're saying, I am so amazing, I am so powerful, I am so attractive, whatever, you don't need to believe that, okay? But if your ego is giving you like a strong like pushback, like whoa, then you can try different affirmations, or you can word it in the form of a question, such as, why am I amazing? Why am I so amazing? Why am I so charming? Why am I so attractive? Why am I so powerful? Why do things seem to go my way? Because if you're phrasing it as a question, number one, your ego is not going to fight you as hard because you're not making a statement. Number two, your subconscious mind, because now you're repeating question, it's kind of programmed to figure out answers to that question. So then you're going to start to be shown evidence of why you are so amazing and powerful and attractive. But you don't need to believe it. You just want to word it in a way where it's not making you feel uncomfortable to say them. Oh, you love seeing me on live. I love being here. Holla. Is it necessary to keep affirming even if you don't feel the need? No. If you know that it's already done, and only you can know that, you know, I don't know where anyone else is at on their personal journey, but if you're just like, yeah, it's done, there's nothing else for me to do, then you don't need to keep affirming. You just don't want to think against it, you know. And this is what I tell people, you know, you affirmations help. They help especially if you're, you know, switching out a belief system, okay? Because the repetition is, you know, it's eating away at that old belief. But the most important thing is you don't want to think against it. So as long as you're not thinking against it and you're not looking at the timing, where is it or how is it going to happen, you're just kind of like whatever. You could even focus on something else, not think about it at all. That's totally fine. You know, that's all you would really need to do. Oh, you didn't know I did lives? Yeah, I don't have a schedule for lives. I just kind of like jump on whenever the mood strikes, you know. Can I please check comments? I'll do my members only video later. Yes, absolutely. Someone said angel numbers and seeing his name, is that a sign it's working? What do you think? If you say it's a sign that it's working and it's making you, you know, motivated, then go with that. But again, the law is the law. The law is saying, okay, this person is taking this as a sign. That's what it is. And because you're focused on the angel numbers and seeing this person's name, you know, you can look at that as like, okay, cool, thanks. I still have my manifestation. I wouldn't recommend getting too hung up on seeing these things, because then now you kind of place your focus on like those things rather than remaining your focus on the wish fulfilled, the end version of it. Okay, so everything means whatever you think it means. It's not like does it mean it's working? Yeah, if you say so. Does it mean that it's not working? Yeah, if you say so. Can you give advice on letting go of the when and the how? You have to be present. You have to be present in the moment. And this can be the most frustrating thing for a lot of individuals, because, you know, this is not something that I think anyone would want to hear, but there is no way to like shut that off unless you tune into something else. So if you're thinking about the when or the how, you can either, you know, go do something else. And I mean like a hobby. You could go to the gym, you could go for a drive, you could go for a walk, you can hang out with friends, you can hang out with family, you could do like a work project or a hobby, okay? But you keep your mind while you're doing those things. It's already done. There's nothing else for me to do. It's done now. It's done perfectly. That's where you would want to keep your mind, you know, because I'd want to tell you to go to the bar with your friends to get your mind off it. But then you're there physically, but mentally, where is it? How's it going to get here, right? So you would do an activity that you enjoy, but you say it's already done. Nothing else for me to do. Or you could go into your affirmations, or you could go into the visualization of something implying that it's already done. But it takes discipline to not look at the when or the how. And I know that that can be, you know, something that just, it gets easier the more you're able to just tune out those probabilities and tune into where you're at. But you want to remain focused in the moment, and you have to keep your mind on it's already done. Nothing else for me to do. Nope. Oh, but when is it going to get here? I don't know. It's already here. Nothing else for me to do. How's it going to get here? It already arrived perfectly. That's it. It takes discipline. It'll get easier as you train your ego to not look at the when and the how, but that it's discipline and being present. How do you get rid of thinking that the things that you want are illogical? Well, with manifesting, there's nothing that's illogical, and I know that in a logical perspective, you know that. But if you're thinking that it's illogical, that's coming from your ego because it's trying to figure out how it's going to arrive, okay, or it's looking at time, you know. And again, it's still, it's present moment awareness, okay. And it's also, what you want to do is like, okay, when was the last time that I thought of something and then it just happened out of thin air? Okay, that's going to help you. If you need some logic, you would look at some evidence in your perceived past. You would bring it to your now moment, and you would think of circumstances that have occurred that seemed very weird that you thought of, and then they just happened. So that can be helpful as well, because you're kind of, you know, presenting evidence to your logical mind, like, okay, well, it's happened before. So to the logical mind, it's still looking for a pattern. Well, it's happened before, so there's a likelihood that it can happen again in this way, right? You can do that. And you can also start, you know, saying, because I can think of my desires, are already a part of me. And if I can imagine it and I can think about it, it's not illogical, because I am here and this is what I see, and I exist, and I exist perfectly. So how can this thing be illogical if I'm here and I'm aware of it? Okay. But you know, a lot of times with that, you just kind of have to surrender and be like, look, even if this is, you know, number 3, you can just be like, look, I don't know how this is going to happen, but it's already happened because I see it in my mind. And you have to, you know, kind of tune into that rather than looking at like logic. Can you manifest someone getting locked up? Well, I mean, the answer to that is yes. You know, the answer, can you manifest this? Can you manifest that? You can manifest anything. The answer is always yes. So if that's what you want, it's the same thing as any other manifestation, you know. You start affirming it, or you visualize it, or you script it out, or you just say, you know what, it's already done, that's it. That person's already locked up, whoever. That's it. It's the same thing. You can manifest anything. How about money? I mean, money is the same thing as manifesting anything else. You know, with manifesting money, you want to be aware, like I said in the beginning, that you are the currency, and currency is money, right? And you're always moving, so it's really you. So to manifest money, I recommend to people, you know, what dollar amount is processing as natural to your vessel, where you don't have a lot of resistance to it just appearing in your bank balance. Like, what is something that would be comfortable? Picture that dollar amount, picture it, you know, the way that your bank details look. And even if you're not visual, you can look at your, you know, your bank app. You could even print it out, and then you can white out what it says the available balance is. And then you could just, you know, print out, or, you know what I mean, type in the amount that you want to see. So you don't need to be visual, but you would just go with what dollar amount makes you comfortable. If you're saying that you have $500 million and your ego is like, bro, what? Like, you know, you might not want to do that unless that's comfortable. But what amount is comfortable? And just start saying, I have XYZ amount of dollars in my bank balance at all times. You print it out, you look at your bank app, you visualize it. Or you could do like a fake recording where you record your voice and you like put like an AI bot so it legit sounds like you're calling the bank. It says your available balance is whatever it is, and you could just listen to that over and over again. That's what I recommend with money, is just find a number that feels comfortable to you, and don't think about how it's going to arrive. Just be like, this is a comfortable amount. And you could also do that if it's, you know, if it's more comfortable for you to say something like you're imagining like a certain amount coming in every week or every month or every day. You would just do the same procedure. How to act like the person you want to be when your 3D isn't the same. It's, I feel like, you know, I've said this, it's like every question, it's being mindful in the moment, okay? So if, let's go with a money example, since I just spoke about that. So if you are a multimillionaire and you're checking your bank balance, the multimillionaire version of you right then and there on the spot is not going to, you know, be anxious. It's not going to be fearful. It's not going to be disappointed. They're going to be like, yeah, I got this. It's all taken care of. It's in the moment. The multi-million-dollar version of you is not going to care about ordering a $14 fucking coffee. You know what I mean? The multi-millionaire version of you is not going to want to hoard money, okay, for a rainy day. The multi-million-dollar version of you is going to be like, you know what? To me, this is something that I want to get right now. I'm going to circulate some funds, and, you know, that's what it is, right? So I'm not saying go out and, you know, charge up your fucking credit cards, you know what I mean? Like max them out, but like you have to be mindful in the moment of who you are being. So if there's something that feels natural for you to do in the moment, that's who you really are. But if you notice it's causing some fear, the same thing with like an SP manifestation, right? The version of you that's happily married to SP is not gonna be like, oh my God, they text me. No, that's coming from the old story of like, you're in shock that your partner is texting you. So be mindful, and in that moment you switch it. You're like, of course they're texting me, you know, and it's just being in the moment. That's why I tell everyone, you know, you could do every technique under the sun, but it's in those moments that they really matter the most. They matter the fucking most, because you can do everything, but then the slightest inkling of a trigger, thank you for the roses, the slightest inkling of a trigger, and it's just gonna be like, you know, you have to be aware and mindful even then. That's the most important thing. Yes, I saw a comment that said it happens in the higher dimensions. The 3D is just a reflection. Yes, because that's what the 3D is literally like, I don't know if literally is the word, but metaphorically, the 3D is metaphorically a shadow of what you have going on in your awareness. So it's following you, right? You're not getting rid of your shadow, but it's there. Ooh, thank you for the gift. It's there, and it moves when you move, right? Like it can look distorted at times, just like your shadow can change shapes at times, but it's always there. It's constantly being reflected. It's like a mirror. It's like a shadow. That's why in my favorite, oh my God, one of my favorite Corinthians verse, casting down imaginations. You cast it like a spell, like I said in the beginning, spelling, the language that you use. It's casting a spell. It's casting a shadow. So you, from your imagination, it's like your imagination is like up here, the 4D, right? Your mind. And then the 3D is over here. What you're thinking, it's casting the shadow. And that's how it works. And sometimes it can be instantaneous. Sometimes it isn't. You know, it depends really on what you're manifesting. If you have any resistance to it, if you have a belief system that contradicts it, you know, but your manifestations can literally happen in an instant. They really can. So that it's another limiting belief to say, oh, well, the 3D is a time delay. Like, no. If you believe that there is a time delay, you get to see more of it. So there's even limiting beliefs in the manifestation community. When someone says you have to feel it real, when someone says you need to work on self-concept, when someone says the 3D, you know, there's a delay period, that no. The law is the law, and the law is just giving you what you expect and what you believe and what you're focused on. That's it. Yes, exactly, like purging. Oh my God, that one is so, I mean, I'm not saying that that has never happened to anyone, but if you believe that, then you're going to create that. So can you imagine someone who's like, you know, we're always manifesting, but someone who just became consciously aware of it, and then they look at manifestation content, and then someone is like, these 3 things will happen right before you get your manifestation. You're going to see 1111. Things are going to fall apart. Like, what? And then you're believing that because you're brand spanking new in the manifestation community, and you have some motherfucker out here that's saying shit like that because maybe they experienced that and it's true for them, but it doesn't have to be true for everyone. So yes, you can experience a purge, but yes, you can also experience your manifestations occurring magically and harmoniously without you lifting a finger. But, you know, it comes back to the law is the law, and you're just going to get what you're focused on. And if you're wavering, which this is, you know, a big thing where a lot of individuals, you know, have this issue, and not that there's anything wrong with that, but a lot of that is just wavering. And then now because they wavered, they're looking at the time, and then they're saying, oh, but it's taking time, but they're not looking at the fact that they wavered, and then they go, it's like, you just, you know, you stick to one story. You stick to one story as much as possible. As much as possible. Doesn't have to be 100%. Of course, it's great if it is, but you stick to that new story as much as possible, and you don't waver. Oh yeah, seriously, the idea of purging, like it's so ridiculous. You heard there's usually a distraction that comes before your manifestation. Oh, maybe, look, I'm not saying that it didn't happen for whoever is saying that, but that doesn't mean it has to happen for everyone. Like, I mean, I've experienced manifestations all different ways, but looking back on it, it depended. Did I have a backstory that contradicted the thing? Did I have no resistance to it? Did I just know it was going to happen, then go with it? Like, it's even different if your manifestations, you're manifesting different things. Each of those manifestations can arrive in a totally different way because it's still based on what you expect and believe, you know? You have to convince yourself first in order for it to come. You're only convincing yourself. I mean, I don't think there's anything about convincing, because a thought repeated long enough is just going to take hold over your mind, and it's going to become a belief system. I mean, you don't have to convince yourself of anything. You just have to say, this is what I want. It's done. And if you do have a belief system that contradicts what you want, then you would work on eliminating that belief system. But you don't need to convince yourself of anything. You don't even need to convince yourself that manifestation is real. Because like I said, you know, if someone is doubting that manifestation is even real, you do have experiences that you've had in your life where you've seen evidence of manifestation. So there's that. That's what triggers you. Sometimes you can't imagine how your manifestation is unfolding because it's not your job. It's not your job to imagine how it's unfolding. That is absolutely not your job. That's the realm of the unknown. You're not to know, because if you were to know how it was going to happen, that'd be some 3D logistics shit, and that's not what manifestation is. So you have to find a way to be comfortable with not knowing how it's going to unfold, and just affirming that it is unfolding right now perfectly for you, because that would just help to say that it's unfolding, there's movement, and it's happening perfectly, because you wouldn't want any detrimental thing to occur in order for you to get your manifestation either. So you would just want to imply that it happened perfectly. I don't know how, but that should happen perfectly. What about physical attraction to someone saying they aren't physically attracted to you? Even if they said that, that's still a story that you went with. So it's up to you to continue going with what they said, or it's up to you to say, they're so attracted to me, like they're in love with me, they jerk off every night thinking about my ass. It really depends. Just because someone tells you something, okay, yeah, they said that, now what? Do you accept that as true, or are you just like, nah, that's a bunch of bullshit? You have to accept that. If someone tells you anything, and even if you think that it's just about them, you are the one that has to accept that. It can't work unless you accept it. Oh, you're welcome, Martina. But if you don't believe, you're not identifying as a person who has it, aren't you just saying words? If you have a belief system and you are robotically affirming, the repetition is changing that belief system. You don't have to believe it at first, but that is what I recommend with a belief system, especially to change, because that repetition, you're going to start to notice the affirmations just become your natural thoughts. But coupled with that, as you said, if you're not identifying because you don't believe the affirmations, this is why I also say on top of your affirmations to change the belief system, you have to be mindful of how you are thinking in every moment, which is, the example that I gave, the millionaire version of you is not triggered looking at their bank balance, and you're going to be mindful of that in the moment. Okay, so I'm affirming, I'm good with money, I'm lucky with money, everything is always working out well in my financial sector. Oh shit, the bank balance, who am I going to be right now? That's where the identity comes in. You have to think differently, and you might not even, it might feel fake to you at first. That's why in another one of my videos I recently posted, I was talking about like an alter ego type of deal where you can even invent an alter ego who's already, who's already living that lifestyle, who already has that thing, and that might be, it's kind of fun. You can make a little game out of it, and you're like, oh, I'm looking at the bank app. Let me turn on my alter ego who already has it. Even doing that, your subconscious mind has no idea what is real and what is fake. So you can say this and it might seem like it's hollow because you don't believe it yet. But if you keep repeating it and you be mindful of how you are being in the moment, that is what counts. And changing it in the moment is going to get you to the baseline where those are your natural thoughts. I was gonna say something else. Fuck, I forgot. Maybe I'll remember. I'm not really sure. Woohoo. When you're not focused on what you want or trying, it comes and you get confused. Because likely if you're focused on what you want, you're looking for it. And if you're looking for something, that implies that it's not there, right? Or if you're thinking about your desire, but you're like there's still a little bit of resistance to the when or the how, you dropping your entire focus from that desire, even in the moment, is dropping that resistance as well. And then boom, it slides in. Oh, fuck, I really wanted to say something. Oh my God, I forgot. Oh, whatever. Maybe I'll remember and make a video on it later. How did my understanding of the law become so perfect? Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I've studied it a lot and I've observed others. I've had conversations about it and a lot of personal experience and self-observation. If someone invites you to something and you decline, is that interfering with the flow of your manifestation? If you feel like declining something and it feels natural for you to decline, like you're not afraid of it, it's not causing you anxiety, and you're just like, I just don't feel like going, that is the decision you would want to go with. Because even if someone doesn't invite you somewhere, but you just feel like going out on your own and it feels good for you to do that, like it feels neutral, it feels like you're just guided to do that, just like you felt like you were just guided to decline the invitation, that's still you manifesting. That's you being in the flow state. So if it feels constricted for you to go out anywhere, and you'll just know that, then that is, part of the manifestation is declining the invitation. Just like non-action can be part of manifestation. Like a lot of individuals talk about, inspired action in terms of manifesting. You're not going to feel any which way. You're not going to think about it. You're just going to be moved. But sometimes you just might be moved to stay home one day, right? And you're just like, why? I don't know. Like, but I'm just sitting here. I'm not doing anything. And then maybe something occurs that if you hadn't been home that day, you wouldn't have been aware of. So inspired action can be you're inspired to decline an invitation, or you're inspired to just stay home and fucking, relax in front of the TV. People on Twitter and Reddit complicate it so much. Well, I think people just are going by their own experiences. I mean, it really is quite simple. You get what you're focused on, You just want to change your thoughts. Thank you, Maria. Your SP is back, but you're feeling meh. Oh, I mean, it's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, it might have been that you were just expecting him to come back, and then he did. Now you're not phased. You're just like, okay, this is natural, which is not necessarily bad, because it means that you've already been in the state of knowing it happened. If you want to manifest an acting career, would it be better to do it in steps or the full thing? That really depends on you. If you want to go right to the end and do a visual or do an affirmation or scripting or something, that you can do that. But if it's feeling like it's, bothering your ego to go right to the end, you can manifest in steps. It really just depends on the person. But if you're finding that you have resistance to going right to the end, then you can just say, oh, wow, I got this amazing audition today, instead of like, the whole, like you getting like a $10 million contract or something. You can do it. It just, things like that, like, I mean, going right to the wish fulfilled, yes, like that is ideal, like the end goal, but you don't have to. You can do it in steps. It just depends on where you're at, Yeah, that's the way it's supposed to feel. When you manifest a relationship with your SP, it felt natural and calm, like, okay, because think about it. If you're married to someone, it doesn't matter, you're in love with them. You're married to them for 20 years. Are you going to be like, oh my God, they text me? Like, you might smile like, oh, of course they're thinking about me, or something cute like that. But you're not going to always be in an excited state. That's why when I talk about like feeling is a secret, when Neville says that, he's not talking about an emotion. It's just like a natural, calm feeling. It's just like, okay, this is what it is, that's how it is. And the more natural you feel about it, even sometimes, like if you've been manifesting something and now you don't feel like affirming, you don't feel like visualizing, you don't feel like doing anything, then that can mean that you're so in alignment with it that you're like, okay, there's nothing else for me to do. And a lot of times when your manifestation arrives, it's kind of like you don't care. Like, not that you don't care, like, oh, like, hell no. You're just like, oh, yeah, I knew that was happening, right? Because it's the naturalness of it. It's not, like, yes, it's great to be feeling excited and things like that, but you're not going to be feeling excited 24/7. So that's why emotions don't matter. It's just the naturalness of the desire, how it processes in your vessel. So, I don't know how long I've been talking, but I want to make sure that this gets uploaded quickly. So I'm going to do one more question. Let's see if there's a question that's like beneficial for everyone. Well, River, my opinion on subliminals, I do have that posted on my latest YouTube video of the live. I have the answer to that one there specifically. I love you guys too. Okay, let's go with this. How do you program yourself to align with your divine timeline, not waiting but preparing? It's the same thing as like kind of like the naturalness of it. So let's say you are manifesting your dream home. You're not going to be thinking from a place of when is it going to happen, how is it going to happen. You're going to catch yourself in those moments, and you're going to be like, okay, well, I already have my dream home, so what do I do now? You might want to start looking at, you know, things in that neighborhood. You could even, you know, you could drive around the neighborhood or whatever the case. And this is obviously applicable to any manifestation. I'm trying to use different examples like relationship, SP, home, just to get a variety in here. So you're manifesting your dream home and you're in alignment with it. You're gonna be like, okay, so where is the grocery store located in this neighborhood? Like, where's, you know, the gym or whatever else you like to do that would be applicable to that neighborhood. You just start looking at those places. And also what Florence Scovel Shinn says, which I really like this idea, she calls it like digging the ditches. You would buy something or you would do something that would imply that you already have the dream home. So you want to get like, I don't know, some nice silverware or something, right? Which, okay, like maybe you could use that at the place you're at now. Maybe you don't need to, but you know, you don't need to go out and buy like a huge couch, obviously, if you know what I mean? You know, but you would buy something that would imply that this is going to your dream home, right? You would take some actions to get yourself more in alignment with it, like small things, if that's what, you know, is suitable. And you would, you know, look at that neighborhood, you would drive around, you would get a feeling for it. You'd be like, oh, wow, like, so this is where the grocery store is. And this is where, you know, the dry cleaner is, whatever the case may be. And you, of course, would, whatever your manifestation is, if you're super specific about what house you want, yes, you can visualize that. You can say affirmations for that. You can say, I'm so happy that I'm living on Maple Street or whatever the case is. Or if it's not, you know, it could be a specific neighborhood, it could be wherever, right? You would get as specific as you possibly can, and you wouldn't want to think against it. And if you're in alignment with it, it's the same thing, what I say for everything. Who are you being in the moment? The alter ego that is living in the dream home is so happy that they're living there. They're, you know, they're not thinking against it because they're already there. So no matter what your circumstances are looking like, you know, you go in your imagination, and when you're affirming and when you're visualizing, when you're scripting, even if you're doing a meditation, you're just thinking about it, that does imply that you are in alignment with it. You know, whether you decide to buy, you know, a set of dishes or silverware or throw pillows or something small that would imply your new home, going around the neighborhood, you can do those physical actions as well, digging the ditches, but it's most important that you're in your mind there more than you are tuned in to the 3D. And don't think against it. Don't think, how is it going to happen? You can say, I'm so happy that I moved into my dream home at the perfect time. The price is right. Or maybe you got it for free if you want to manifest a free home. I don't know. I saw a video on here. Someone was talking about how she manifested a house for free. This is a while ago. I don't really remember, but I mean, you know, anything is possible. So you would want to be as specific as you can, no matter what it is you're manifesting. You would want to not think against it, and you would want to maybe do something physically that would imply that the thing has already happened, and, you know, create that alter ego. Would so-and-so who's living in this desired timeline be thinking like this? No, they wouldn't. So I'm not going to think that way either, because I am in my desired timeline. My desired timeline is accessible to me now because I'm aware of it. And the more I focus my awareness on the desired timeline, the closer it and I get. So, ooh, you're welcome, River. So, yeah, that's what I think I'm going to leave it at, because I don't want this to get too long and take super long to upload. So thank you all so much for joining. This will be up on YouTube at a certain point. Thank you for the gifts, the likes, the comments, the questions, the chat. And I will talk to you guys later. Bye. Guys, later. Bye.